All right, so we're going to get things kicked off. So thank you everyone for joining us today for our kickoff webinar. We're so excited for the fourth annual Journey 5K virtual run, walk, and wheel in support of the Do More Agriculture Foundation. I want to make a quick mention here that registration is officially open today. So you'll get some more information about that in this webinar, but make sure you register for the event. Registering for the webinar does not register you for the event. Right. So to start things off, I want to share a couple of stats to give some background on why the Journey 5K is so important. In a survey of more than 1,100 farmers, 35% met the criteria for depression, 58% met the criteria for anxiety, 45% were highly stressed, and 40% were uneasy seeking professional help. Those are big numbers. And it told us that people who work in agriculture need support to help them talk, reach out, and be open about their mental health. And this is a big reason why the Journey 5K was created in 2021. Our Canadian leadership team saw this need for our retail staff and customers. This initiative is during the start of a very busy time of year because we want to help support you all with tools and resources to help you have a successful year and know where you can turn for support if you need. And one of those biggest resources is the Do More Agriculture Foundation, and we have Megz here today to give a presentation on burnout. So she'll be sharing that a little bit along with some tips and support to help you. And it's just a note when Meg will be talking or throughout this, if you have any questions on the webinar, please put them in the chat. So I wanted to take a quick minute to look back at our journey for the Journey 5K. And I do have to add a little personal note in here. This initiative was the first thing that I got to do when I joined Winfield in 2021. I started April 5th, and we kicked off, I think, that week or the week after. And the month of April, I was tasked with writing weekly emails and helping with the social media. It was a heck of an introduction to Winfield because in 2021, this event blew up on socials. People were talking about it for a long time after our month-long coach to 5K and then the actual race days. And it's just grown from there. As you can see from these graphs, in 2021, we had 250 participants. 2023, we had 700. For total kilometers traveled, 2021, we had 1,250. Last year, 3,500. And as for donations, in 2021, we had $10,000 raised, and last year we doubled that with 20,000. Together, we've raised $47,000 for the Do More Agriculture Foundation over the last 3 years. And in 2024, we're aiming to raise another $20,000. While the Journey 5K is free of charge for anyone to join, we do encourage donations to Do More Ag through the link on our website landing page, which can be found at, I believe it's journey5k.ca. This year, we have some extra fun challenges to help raise even more, which Teresa will be chatting about shortly. I wanted to touch on a couple of key dates here for everybody. So registration is officially open today. As I mentioned, you can sign up on our landing page. This registration gives you full access to our app, the warm-up, and the actual event. And just to reiterate, signing up for this webinar does not sign you up for the event. You do need to actually register for the event. The warm-up starts today, and we'll get you ready for the main event. Teresa will be speaking on that in a little bit, along with our app. And the actual race days are April 22nd to 28th. These are the days that you can log your 5K or more if you're so inclined. So I wanted to touch on a couple of notes on how to get your team involved if you're maybe new to the Journey 5K or just looking for some ideas on how to get your crew involved. So first thing you can do is send the Journey 5K one-pager to everybody on your team to register. It has all the good information on there of what to do and how to do things. That is kind of the best place to look at what this year has in store. Next thing you can do is create some internal challenges. I know in 2021, Greg McDonald was challenged to wear a turtle costume if he did not beat Shay at Hawks Agro's time. He had to wear said costume around the office as well. Now, I didn't personally see him wear the costume at the office, but I did see him in pictures, so I think it happened. I'm not sure if he's on the call, I can't see here, but I think that turtle costume might need to come out for this year too. I'll leave Greg to challenge somebody on that one. Other things you can do is host a team event during Journey Week. So put it in their calendars just to remind them for the run and walk. Speaking of calendars as well, you can create a calendar hold for that week just to kind of remind people if they've maybe forgot about what day to do it, or if they need to be reminded to do it sometime that week. Other ways to create engagement is posting on social media. So, rep those old Journey t-shirts. I had to dig out mine in the closet, but I found one of them, and post on social media. So you can post on Instagram, Facebook, and use the hashtag Winfield Journey for Ag. And then feel free to tag Winfield United Canada and Do More Ag. Another thing you can do is encourage your family members and friends to get involved. Anybody can participate, so it'd be great to, get lots of people in there. I know my husband's been involved since 2021, and our daughter, I was going to say, might have been the youngest Journey 5K-er, but some people might have me beat, but I was 17 weeks pregnant with her in 2022. And then in 2023, she was in a stroller, and then this year she'll be along for the ride as well, but she might actually take some steps outside of the stroller this year. Other things are the prizes. There's prizes to be won. So everything from the fastest, the slowest, social butterfly for kids, for pets, and so much more. So make sure you get out there and get kind of active and participating. And that's all I have as of right now. So I'm going to pass things over to Teresa, who is going to give us all the updates on our new initiative to the Journey 5K, our app. So take it away, Teresa.
Teresa, you are muted.
There we go. I was muted. Sorry, guys. So today we're excited to introduce you to a powerful tool that will enhance your journey experience from start to finish. New for 2024, Journey 5K now has an event app. So let's delve in what that app has in store for you. With your registration, you'll receive a complimentary premium subscription to our event health and wellness app, Pacer. This subscription unlocks a wealth of premium perks, including workout guides, custom training plans, and individual data insights to make it easy for you to start taking steps to improve your own physical and mental health. But that's not all. Experience the full journey by connecting through the app. You'll be able to complete your Journey 5K using the event app to track your distance and the total time to complete the 5K. In the app, you can also view individual and team leaderboards, making it easy to do those challenges for your friends and get some fun-filled adventures in. Maybe another turtle costume will be in someone's future aside from Greg. You will also be able to receive event announcements and updates directly through the app, ensuring that you're always in the loop. You can also share your journey experience with others. We encourage you to post often and inspire your peers along the way. The app is a great place to have open conversations about mental health in a safe space. Now, let's talk about the new Journey 5K warm-up. So this is included as part of your Journey 5K registration. The warm-up runs from March 26th to April 21st, and this pre-event phase is designed to get you moving before the main Journey event while giving to the cause. So together, participants will complete a group virtual challenge to reach 5,000 kilometers collectively over the 4 weeks, with 4 $500 donation milestones, each at 1,000-kilometer mark, and a $1,000 donation if together we can achieve all 5,000 kilometers. The best part is all of your daily steps count towards the group challenge goal. So every trip to the printer, every walk to the barn, every step you take throughout the day counts. So encourage your friends and family to register for the event early so that they can participate in the warm-up, and together we can unlock early donations to the Do More Ag Foundation and get a jump on our Journey 5K donation goal of $20,000. But there's more. During the warm-up, we'll also be awarding weekly prizes, including the Mostest Mover, so the individual with the most steps or distance for the week, the Distance Dynamos, the team with the most distance for the week, and the Social Star, the individual with the most app engagements that week. So have some fun along the way and compete for those great weekly prizes. So how do you get started with the Journey event and with the app? So here's how you'll get the app and participate. Number one, Make sure you head to our Journey event page and click the sign up button to register for the Journey 5K. Once you've completed the registration, check your registration confirmation email for the app download link and the organization code. It will appear at the top of the page along with instructions on how to complete the download and get a great user guide for the initial setup. Then you'll download the Pacer app and create your profile. You'll enter the OR code from the Journey 5K that you received with your confirmation email. Then you'll join or create a team, making sure that if you create a team, you let your teammates know what team they should join. And if you're joining alone, join our general team, the individual awesomes. Once you're set up, head back to the event page and watch the app tutorial video in the app guide section. This will give you an overview of how to use the app functions and the Journey events. The last thing is to get out there and start stepping, because your Journey registration not only signs you up for the main event, but also automatically enrolls you in the Journey 5K warm-up, giving you the chance to unlock early donations to the Do More Ag Foundation. Let's make every step count and support your daily health and mental wellness as we embark on our journey together. And of course, if you have any questions along the way, you can always connect with the Winfield United Canada team and they'll be happy to help you. That's all. I'll hand it back to Taryn.
All right, I think I pre-clicked something here. There we go. Went too far. I didn't realize I had control back here. All right, so now I'm going to pass things over to Megz, the Executive Director for the Do More Agriculture Foundation, and she's going to be giving a presentation on burnout. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil anything, so I will let her take it away.
Thanks, Taryn. Just give me 1 second while I share my screen. As we go through the presentation, please feel free to add any thoughts or questions into the chat or the Q&A. If you're looking to share them directly to so that your name is not attached to that, please feel free to do so, and to share them to Bryn. She's going to be monitoring the chat. And I did just want to say a quick note that I will be talking about mental health, obviously, burnout, suicide. So this is a trigger warning. The most important piece of this is that you're taking care of your mental wellness throughout the next 45 minutes or so, and that might mean leaving, coming back, or just leaving completely. So do whatever you need to do to take care of you. And I'm looking forward to having the conversation, because this is how we, as an industry, change the culture to one where all are empowered and supported to take care of their mental wellness. It is one conversation at a time. As mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of the Do More Agriculture Foundation. We're the national voice and champion for mental health in Canadian agriculture, and we celebrated our 6th birthday this spring. We operate on 3 pillars, the first being awareness. That's what we're here today to do, to have that conversation. We also bring a lot of mental health literacy workshops into rural communities across Canada for free through our community fund with FCC. We work around creating community around mental health. This past summer, we launched a platform called Ag Talk, which is a free national peer-to-peer support platform, fully anonymous for anyone 16 years and older in the agricultural industry. That's really part of how we're working to create that community. And then, of course, resources. We're looking to make sure that we bring all other resources across Canada or provincially to one place and help people to connect with them.
I've been having a rough day, and so now I'm hiding in the barn because my horses, well, be it the miniature, is rather annoying. Quit biting my phone. Cut it out. They may listen as well as my kids, but they don't scream and talk back. And my girls seem to do better when it's just my husband around anyways. And since I'm struggling with things, that makes me more on edge and it makes me snap easier. So then I just feel like a bad mom. And I feel like it's better if I'm not at the house right now. I'm stressed about a lot of things. My money being the biggest one. I feel like I've kind of given everything I can to farming and I don't have anything else to give to it right now. But that wasn't enough.
Oops. Sorry. I filmed that video in 2018. What I didn't know at the time is that I was experiencing burnout. We had had a good run for a while, and made some decisions based on that. We bought some land, rented some new land, and tried to expand our operation. I used to grain farm in Southwest Saskatchewan. Right after we tried to expand and we're very hopeful about the future of our operation, we were hit with some really challenging years with very low commodity prices and weather that just did not show up to play ball whatsoever. And so the one picture in the screen, top right, that's me testifying to the Agriculture Agri-Food Standing Committee in 2018 when they looked into mental health in agriculture. And what I told them was that at that time, it felt like I was digging my own grave to follow my dreams of farming. And that even though I didn't grow up on a farm, I grew up in Calgary, Alberta. It didn't take me long to attach my sense of self-worth and my identity to my ability to be a farmer. And so I felt like at that time and sitting in that barn making that video, that I'd failed as a farmer, that I had failed as a spouse, and that I had failed as a parent. And I felt like my only value and my only worth to my family was in my life insurance policy. Unfortunately, I'm not the only one who knows what that feels like or has been there. And so it's really important that we're having these conversations and above and beyond having the conversations, understanding what the signs are to look for in ourselves and in others and what we can do once we start seeing that we're kind of slipping away from that fully charged place and need to start looking after our own mental wellness. Some of these statistics have already been mentioned, so I won't mention all of them again. These are coming out of the University of Guelph as well as Farm Management Canada. They found that we have 20 to 30% higher rates of suicide than any other occupation in Canada. We're 68% more susceptible to chronic stress than the general population, and we're 4 times more likely to use a firearm to die by suicide than the general public. And that last bullet point is really important. I think one of the reasons we have such high rates of suicide in our industry is that we have the means to carry out that thought when we have it. We don't have to figure out, how to make that happen. And so it is really important that if you are really worried about somebody, that first you come out and ask, are you thinking about suicide? You won't be introducing that thought to them. It's really important to ask the question that way. And if they say yes, then you need to connect them to support. You also need to try to help make that a safe environment for them. So, where I used to farm, it's very common for everybody to have guns on farm. And I know talking to farmers that that's one of the questions that they've asked friends before. I know you're going through a tough time. Can I keep your guns at my place locked up until you're in a better spot? So just something to be aware of. What they also found in 2021 when the University of Guelph went back and did this study, and this was, influenced, of course, by the pandemic as well, but 1 in 4 Canadian farmers felt like their life was not worth living, wished that they were dead or had thought about taking their own life in the last 12 months. So it's really, really important that we're having these conversations because we're not in a great place as an industry and farming isn't getting any easier. It's getting harder with all of those pieces that we don't personally get to control. One of our biggest challenges, stigma. It's not that mental health in agriculture is a new thing. It's not that, farming has challenges and can affect mental wellness or our mental health. That's not new. What's new is that we're finally talking about it. And one of the biggest barriers that we have to either having the conversation or reaching out and getting help when we know that we need that is that stigma piece. And, we're a stoic industry. One of the things, something happens and our first response is there's always next year, which at times you need to just be able to put your head down and get through what's going on, whether that's a barn fire or AI in your birds or a hailstorm that takes out most of your crop. But at some point we do need to take something out of the box and look at it and process those emotions and those feelings so that we have true resiliency moving forward instead of just continuing to push things down and shut things off and take that other step forward. And when I talk about stigma, for me, there's two types. There's that external stigma. That might keep me from going and booking an appointment with a professional if I live in a community that has someone to talk to, because I'm worried that someone's going to drive by and they're going to see my truck. And I think that that person is going to think that I'm less than and judge me for reaching out and needing help. The second type of stigma is internal, and this is often much harder to break down. That's the stigma that will keep me from first recognizing that something is going on with myself and then acknowledging that I do need support. And I have been, I was very active online when I came to farming. I wanted to have the conversation with the person I was growing up in the city, help build that trust with what we're doing and why we're doing it on farm. And part of that was advocating for mental health, sharing my journey as well to help normalize that conversation. At the end of 2019, I moved myself and my girls off farm because the farm was no longer a safe or healthy place for us to be because of how so many individuals were dealing with their own mental health challenges. And I was going through separation and divorce. I was also going through a bit of an identity crisis because I had become a farmer and now suddenly I wasn't a farmer. And then we moved into a community with a population of 4. This is possible in Saskatchewan, 3 of which were myself and my 2 girls. And a couple months later, the whole world shut down for the pandemic. So I was not in the best place ever. And it wasn't that I was diagnosable with anxiety or depression. I just had a lot going on that I needed to process. And even though I would have been the first person to say to a good friend or a loved one of mine, you would really help if you reached out and talked to a professional. There's no shame in doing that. I was like, nope, I got this. I'm going to put my head down. I can do this without any support. And it took some good friends and family members reaching out multiple times and saying, hey, Megz, we really think you could benefit from this. It's going to help you move through this process quicker. It's going to give you some tools so that you're not just in survival mode and fight mode, that you're, better equipped to take care of yourself and your kids as you go through this. Before I finally reached out and did that. And that just to me speaks to that to that stigma piece, right? That internal stigma where I had to break that down on my own, even though already I was sharing my own personal journey on social media to a certain extent and promoting talking to a professional and always getting the help that you need when you need it. We use a lot of words, especially now. We have mental health, mental wellness, mental illness. So what does that all mean? For me, when I look at health, our overall health, that's made up of our physical health and our mental health, and those two pieces are connected. We don't have, what's going on with our mental health, that's going to affect our physical health. So if I'm living with chronic stress and I'm not doing anything to take care of myself, I'm just pushing it down, there's a good chance I'm also dealing with chronic headaches, with stomach issues, with aches and pains body-wise, and possibly even other symptoms. I know a couple of men who have gone to the hospital thinking they're having a heart attack and they're actually having a panic attack. So when we're not dealing with that mental health side, it's going to find a way to try to work itself out, and that's usually through our body. Likewise, if we're dealing with maybe chronic pain or something, there's a good chance that our mental health is affected by that. Over the course of our life, we may not all be diagnosed with a mental illness. Burnout is now a diagnosable mental illness post-pandemic, but we will most likely have somebody in our life that is or is living with a mental illness. So it's important to understand and to be aware. And then mental wellness, to me, that's our battery as we go throughout the day. And it's important to have a pretty good understanding of what that is for each of us and how to pick up on the signs that maybe our battery's becoming a little bit more drained and we need to figure out how to recharge that.
Well, I made a list. It's not absolutely inclusive, but I think that it's helpful for people to know some of the general signs to watch out for when you're thinking about whether or not you may be suffering from burnout. One of the real markers of burnout is sleep disorder. If you're sleeping less than 6 hours a night, if you're waking up in the night and not able to fall back to sleep, if you're having trouble getting to sleep, those can all be signs that maybe you've entered into some dangerous territory. A constant feeling of being overwhelmed, that no matter what you're doing, you're never getting your tasks completed. You're never ahead of the game. Alienation, and this is people do this so often, it's really, really frightening. Alienation basically means you start removing yourself both mentally and physically from the people around you who you care about. It can have devastating consequences. Exhaustion, the toll of burnout is really energy depletion. It's basically, I think that a good way to visualize that is to say your tank is empty and you have no way to refill it. Feeling unproductive, feeling like no matter what, you're just not getting anything done, or you're not getting it done. Often this is a big thing. Not getting it done to the level you want it to be done at. That, you know, a lot of us have really high bars for ourselves, and you may feel you're not meeting those. A lack of joy. And basically what that means is the things that used to give you pleasure, or the people you used to enjoy being around, you no longer find that feeling. You don't enjoy doing your hobbies. You don't enjoy talking to your loved ones. And again, you start to alienate yourself from them and pull back. And the final one that people need to be aware of is anxiety and depression. And if you've moved into that territory, that may be the sign that you need some professional help.
And it's important to be aware that, you know, it can be a little challenging because we've labeled certain mental illness by the same word as we've labeled some of our feelings. So it is possible to be feeling depressed or to have feelings of anxiety without being at a place where you're diagnosable with depression or diagnosable with anxiety. What really is kind of that line to look for is if suddenly those feelings are controlling how you interact with life and how you go about your day. That's really where you start looking at that mental illness piece.
Well,
Not very good
I
at,
made a list.
sorry, I'm not very good at changing
Well,
these.
I made a list.
I get stuck on
It's
the
not
videos.
absolutely.
Okay. If we were in person, I would ask you to put your hand up if you think that stress is a good thing or a positive thing or an important thing. And one of the things that I feel was a negative of the pandemic, outside of all the things that happened, were that we really vilified stress, because stress is really important. The trick is, how much stress do we have? How much stress are we dealing with? And do we know how to manage our stress levels? So if we have too little stress, we have low motivation, poor performance, we're pretty disengaged with what we're working on. If we have moderate level of stress, that's that like sweet spot. That's where we're alert, we're engaged, we have optimal performance, we're challenged, but we're excited by that challenge. We understand how to, you know, we can see the problem, we can break it down, we can approach it. If we have too much stress, that chronic stress that just feels like that weight that's constantly on you, that's where we start to disengage. We might go into procrastination, have higher anxiety feelings, poor performance. And so this is important to think about and also understand, again, where you're at, and understand and develop that knowledge of, okay, how do I move myself from being where I am right now to a place that's healthier for me? One of the ways we can do this is actually name what is stressing us. So there's two different places in our brain that deal with stress. One is that overwhelming, keep you up at night stress, and then the other place is where we're able to engage with stress. And scientists have found that when we actually put a name to what is stressing us, we move it from that place where it's that overwhelming place in our brain to a place in our brain where we're like, okay, I got this, I can figure this out, I can engage with this. And I'll get more to that later. This is one of the most important slides I'll show today, and I'm happy to send everything out afterwards. This is a really great self-check-in kind of temperature gauge to do. You can do it even daily. I know people that have printed this after presentations and put it up on their fridge, or put it in the office lunchroom, or put it in, maybe there's a place in the shop where employees can see it. Maybe it's by the copier at work, but it's really great for figuring out kind of where you are, or maybe where someone else is. And I like the color coding because, again, that relates to that battery. The green is where we want to strive to be. That's where we have true resiliency. We have normal fluctuations in mood, our stress levels in that moderate, middle height of the curve. We can take things in stride. This is true resiliency. We've got consistent performance, normal sleep patterns. We're engaged physically and socially active. We're not pulling away from people or self-isolating. We've got confidence in ourselves and in others. And if we're someone that consumes alcohol, we're doing so in a safe and healthy way. Likewise, with any other type of addictive behavior, that could be gambling. That can also be our phones and social media. It's important not to forget that one. When we're in the green, we're able to focus on the task at hand, break problems down into manageable tasks, and we most likely have a pretty good sense of ourselves and understanding of how to, recharge our battery, get us back to this place. We also most likely have a support system and people that we trust to have conversations with. Life can happen. So, at one point while farming, I had 2 kids under 2, and I was the one that ran the seeder most of the time. And so during seeding, I wasn't in the green. It wasn't that anything horrible had happened. It was just the seasonality of where we were at. I wasn't sleeping great because I had 2 kids under 2 that really did not sleep great. They still don't sleep all that great, but we're working on it. And then running the drill, late into the night and up fairly early the next morning to rinse and repeat. So I was more, I'd say yellow, maybe some of the orange as well. So life happens, our battery's a little bit drained. We don't have time to take care of ourselves, or we're not understanding the importance of trying to find ways to do that. Here we're going to be more irritable. We might start feeling overwhelmed about different situations or feeling sad. We might have displaced sarcasm as kind of a way of dealing with where we're at. We might start having kind of procrastinating or forgetfulness, trouble concentrating. That's our stress load increasing. We might start having the physical side effects of things. So muscle aches and pains, headaches, trouble sleeping, decreased social activity. So we might start pulling away because there's just a lot going on and it's easier to be by ourselves than to be with other people. All of those activities that could provide kind of that quick dopamine hit, like, posting on social, drinking, gambling, what have you, we might start increasing those as a negative self-coping mechanism. So here it's really important to be recognizing that we're in this spot, figuring out ways to support yourself in this. I'm not going to tell you to take a week off farm in calving, or if you're a dairy farmer, or if it's seeding or harvest, but maybe when the tractor's warming up, if it's seeding, say, instead of sitting in the cab doom scrolling on social media, maybe you're just wandering up and down the field for 5 minutes, just noticing where you are, the things you can see, the things you can hear, what you can smell, and really grounding yourself and being present in the moment and recharging yourself that way. Life can continue to happen. Maybe now something's broken down on top of everything else I just said. And that could move us into the orange, which is the injured. So here, everything keeps increasing. We might have feelings of anxiety and anger, pervasive sadness, tearfulness, hopelessness, worthlessness, more trouble concentrating. We might have a negative attitude. We might be having more trouble making decisions. Again, that's that chronic stress. So decreased performance. We might have workaholic tendencies. That goes back to that video where maybe we're using work as a way to try to feel like we're accomplishing something, or to escape what we're feeling and not deal with our thoughts. We, more avoidance, more withdrawal, and increased alcohol, gambling, all of those different pieces. When you're here, it's really important to, again, be able to know that you're here and then talk to somebody. We always say that talking to someone is better than talking to nobody, but it might be good to start thinking about talking to a professional here. And again, our Egg Talk platform, that might be an easy way to do it. You can do it on your phone. No one needs to know you're doing it. It's fully anonymous, and there's 24 mental health clinicians on there 24/7. So sometimes it's the fastest way to actually connect with a professional. But also on there are people who have been where you are and understand what you're going through. And so you have that peer-to-peer support as well. Maintain social contact. Make sure you don't keep withdrawing, because that's going to put you further onto your own island and make it harder as well. Again, life keeps going on. If we're not recognizing that we're here, that's where we can move into the red, which would be mental illness. So we might be having panic attacks, extreme anxiety. This is where that side is controlling our life now. So maybe we're not able to get off the farm because we have so much anxiety if we get off the farm about not doing the things we need to do on farm. Maybe we haven't taken a shower in 4 days because the thought of taking a shower is just more than we can handle. That can happen when you're in that heavily depressive episode. Fully isolated here, again, it's really hard to hide, that you're feeling all these things, and so it's easier just not to be around people, not to talk to people, not to be on the phone. Another place you can see people stop showing up is on social media. So has that person been fairly active with posting or commenting before? Suddenly they're not in that space. That's a really good time to check in on them. Here you might also be having thoughts of self-harm or suicidal ideation. Again, alcohol, all of those pieces could be increasing. Really important that you're connecting to a professional at this point and understanding where you are. And again, talking to someone is better than talking to nobody, but it's, you know, this is where a professional is really going to be able to support you with some of those mechanisms. One of the things that I have noticed in agriculture is that we've really normalized living in the yellow and the orange with a little bit of the red. And we don't actually see these bullet points as flags that there's something going wrong or going on with ourselves or going on with someone in our circle. We see them as personality traits, because maybe you've known me for 10 years and for the whole time you've known me, I've always been in the yellow and the orange. We need to start understanding that these are not personality traits. This is something to do with our mental health, and start being able to recognize that and start feeling comfortable with connecting with people, asking questions, and starting conversations. I just want to touch on sleep. I know that it's not always possible to get the amount of recommended sleep, especially with some of the seasons on farm. But it is really important that we understand what that means and what that could potentially mean for our safety and for those that we're working with. If we've been awake for 21 hours straight, there's a good chance that our brain is reacting and processing information the way it would if we had a blood alcohol content level of 0.08, which in most provinces, you are not legally allowed to operate a moving vehicle, and yet we're running farm equipment without sleep. And so we need to, you know, really make that link between on-farm safety and sleep. And one of the things I like about the last chart that I showed, because it's color coded, that might be a way to start creating that culture in your business or on your farm, where it's okay to say you're not okay without having to tell someone what's going on. Because sometimes we're not ready to share, right? So instead of saying, hey, how's it going today? You could say, what color are you? And that opens that door to say, well, actually, I'm kind of in the yellow, or maybe I'm in the orange. And, you know, I have a newborn at home. They didn't sleep great last night. I didn't sleep great last night. And I'm not doing great today. And that gives us the opportunity then in that situation to say, okay, well, I had you, you know, trucking grain today, but maybe I'm going to have you doing something on farm that is safer, because I understand that your brain is maybe not in the best place to be operating a truck or operating a piece of equipment. So really starting to create that culture on at work that can, you know, supports mental health, but also connects it to the safety of what we're doing. There's one morning during seeding that I got out to the field, fully convinced I hadn't finished seeding that field the night before. Fire up the tractor, my monitors are coming on, my GPS comes on, I can see that I actually finished seeding that field the night before. I had no memory of doing that. There was a couple changes we made on farm after that, and one of them was making sure that we were shutting down earlier, getting more sleep, or taking a break. I've napped on the tractor floor before if we realize that we're at the place where we're too tired to keep safely doing something. Signs to look for, again, this is in ourselves and in others. So the withdrawal from activities that you or they used to enjoy. It could be church, coffee row, maybe you know, beer league hockey or something like that. Changes in sleep patterns, that's sleeping too much and always feeling exhausted and just wanting to sleep, or not sleeping enough, nightmares, having trouble falling asleep. Changes in appetite, that can be on both sides as well. So maybe under eating because you feel stressed and nauseous because of the stress, and so food is just not appetizing. Or on the other side, overeating, usually more junk food, because when you're physically eating that food, you're temporarily feeling better. Changes in socialization, again, no longer, you know, wanting to engage with people, talk to people because it's easier not to. Of course, evidence of self-harm. And other changes could be physical appearance. So are they suddenly looking different than they normally would present themselves? Maybe their personal hygiene is dramatically changed. Again, that could be linked to being in a depressive episode because it's just overwhelming to think of showering or brushing your teeth. Other changes on the farm could be how is the maintenance of the farmyard? Is that, you know, a farm that's always maintained the grass to a certain level, made sure that the soil around the trees are rototilled, and now suddenly there's weeds everywhere and the grass is overgrown? That might be a sign that there's something going on, and to check in with that person. Once we do notice these things, it's really important to, like I said, check in, try to start a conversation. Don't just say, hey, how's it going? Because we're programmed not to actually, think that's an open invitation to have a conversation. And so maybe it's like, hey, Megz, I noticed that you were, having trouble focusing today and you kind of seem a little out of it. And I just wanted, how are you doing? Or like, are you okay? Is there anything you want to talk about? And once that person starts talking, you want to be actively listening. We're very good at using the time when someone is speaking to be formulating our response instead of actively listening. And then you want to validate, because what that person is sharing with you, that's their truth. Doesn't matter if you think you would feel differently or think differently, that is that individual's truth. The other piece of that is when you're going through something or experiencing something, you need to validate your feelings. It's not about someone else probably having it worse somewhere else. It's not about beating yourself up for, again, how you're feeling or how you're reacting. We have emotions, we're human. Life is a journey of learning. So validating yourself allows you to identify an emotion, process emotion, and then move through that emotion instead of just trying to shove it into a box and leaving it indefinitely, or to the point where it's going to come back later and let itself out of the box because it just can't be in there anymore. With having this conversation, you never want to have time be the reason you don't start it, but try to pick a time where that person may be more susceptible to that conversation. So if it's harvest and the combine's just broken down and they're storming up the driveway to the shop for tools, that's probably not the best time to try to have this conversation. And likewise, if you're looking to have a conversation because you're the one looking for support or looking to talk it out, make sure you're finding someone that you trust. Or maybe you just need to have that conversation. And so you're going to go for a walk and you're going to talk to the dog. Again, talking to someone or something is better than not talking. That could be talking to the fence post if you're out fixing fence, whatever. But having, through having that conversation, even if it's not to another human, you're processing what you're thinking and what you're feeling. There was a great thread on Twitter, I think it was 2 summers ago now, and it was an agronomist who showed up on farm, and she could tell pretty quick, because, had a working relationship with this farmer, that he was not doing good. And so she said, hey, I've noticed, this and this, are you okay? And he said no. And she did not feel equipped to have that conversation. Not a mental health professional, didn't really know what to say. And so she said, can we call a support line together? And so he was okay with that. And so they made the call together. She helped get him set up in the call, and then, left the truck so that he could have that conversation in private. There's a very good chance he never would have made that call on his own. There's also a chance that she saved his life that day by doing that. So even if you don't feel comfortable having the conversation because you're like, I don't know what to say, it doesn't need to stop you from being able to connect that individual to support. It doesn't need to be a reason to just kind of turn your head and try to turn a blind eye to what you see if you're noticing someone struggling. Boundaries, very, very important. And these come in all shapes and sizes, and depending on what's on your plate, what your capacity is at that time, they're going to shift, they're going to change. End of 2019, when I moved off farm, I had pretty strict boundaries because I did not have a lot of capacity. I was in survival mode and just getting through, kind of hour by hour and day by day. Boundaries can apply to personal space, emotions and thoughts, things and possessions, time and energy, culture, religion, and ethics. And it's about showing somebody where the door is, not building a wall for them. I used to think it was about keeping everybody out. Once you create boundaries, it's really important to respectfully communicate them. People are not mind readers. And you might have boundaries with your phone. So I used to be on social media all the time, and my phone would be constantly lighting up with notifications, and it created a lot of stress for me. So now all of my social media notifications are turned off. If I want to go into social media platforms, it's on my time and it's my choice. It's not something else kind of directing that. Boundaries, if you are constantly having to explain your boundaries and having someone disrespect them or cross them, it's okay to make decisions based on that. Sometimes that's hard with family, but end of day, you need to do what you need to do to take care of yourself. This is one of my favorite pieces, and this links back to that stress wave and naming our stress and moving it into our brain to a place where we can, bring that stress level down and actually approach what's going on. So not everybody is a list person. I quite enjoy lists. I will write lists and then check the mail so that I can be like, oh, I accomplished something today, especially if I have a lot of bigger tasks that are going to take more than a day or a couple of days. So write a list of everything that is keeping you up at night. And I like to kind of picture those things as like sack of potatoes. They're each their own sack of potato that I'm having to carry around. And then go through that list and cross off what you personally cannot control. I guarantee you that list is going to get a lot shorter. And as you're crossing that item off, visualize setting that down. That takes practice. I've been working on this since my mid-20s. But it's such a powerful tool because there's so much in agriculture that is outside of our control, but directly affects our ability to be successful or just even how we're feeling. When I moved off farm, I didn't realize this until I got stuck on top of a hill in a snowstorm trying to watch the sunrise. I didn't check the weather for almost a year because I was like, you don't get to control me anymore, right? So cross all those things off that you cannot personally control. In doing this, you're naming all those things that are causing you stress. You're visualizing setting that weight down if you can't control it. And then suddenly you have a much smaller list of things in your control that you can focus on. And now the stress of those items has been brought down to a place where now you can engage and problem solve and be productive with those pieces. Strategies to grow resilience, changing the narrative. So maybe you're working on something and you're super frustrated. Get up and walk away for 5 minutes. Go have a coffee. Maybe just go stand outside and just, appreciate nature, and maybe it's spring and you can smell things and hear birds and bees, and just take in that moment, ground yourself in, again, those senses and recognizing those different pieces for each sense. There was a couple years where we were in such severe drought that I actually taped over the yield monitor on the combine because it sucked. And I did not need to look at that number multiple times, every couple minutes, to be constantly reminded of just how bad it sucked. So changing that narrative, practicing self-compassion. We are usually hardest on ourselves. So try to speak to yourself or think about yourself the way that you would a loved one, recognizing that everybody goes through things, everybody suffers. And again, what would you say to a friend or a loved one if they were going through what you're going through? Figure out a way to talk to yourself the same way. Building coping skills. And these are things that you want to practice when you're in the green. It's no different than, my kids are now 8 and 9. They have a couple fire alarms or fire drills, every school year. The point of doing that when there is not a fire is making sure that if there ever, and hopefully there isn't, but if there ever is, everybody knows what they need to do. They don't need to think about it. They're going to be calm as they're moving through that process because they've practiced. And we need to think of coping skills the same way. It's much easier to learn them and to practice them when we're in a good place, so that when we're no longer in the green, it's almost second nature to start doing those things to take care of ourselves. So that could be deep breathing. I'll show you a slide in a second. Thought-changing activities, prayer, meditation. For me, meditation is about being present. And so I really work to be present as I move through my day. That could mean looking up from the window while I'm doing dishes and there's a beautiful sunrise, and first being able to see that there's a beautiful sunrise, and then just kind of hitting pause and taking that in before I go back to what I was doing. Practicing forgiveness. That could be forgiving ourselves for how we went through something. Maybe we're having a hard day and the milk got spilled and we react instead of respond, letting ourselves, forgiving ourselves for doing that, understanding why we reacted, what's going on that made us react versus respond, and moving forward. Forgiveness could also mean forgiving somebody else, but that doesn't need to be or mean letting them off the hook. Maybe that just means what you need to do to support yourself and allow yourself to move forward. This is a great check-in. So I do this multiple times a day because I'm that person who, if I don't check in and see like, what is my body doing, I will spend most of my day with my ears up by my shoulders up by my ears. And then I get to the end of the day and I have so much pain in my upper back from all my muscles just being like this, that I am a grumpy person because the pain is kind of that focal point in my brain. So checking in on ourselves. If you're waking up with headaches, there's a really good chance you're sleeping with your jaw clenched. Great time to go check in with your dentist. Breathing. Slide. So box breathing, this is a great exercise. It's used in by many different groups, including the military. This has been proven to actually calm and regulate your nervous system. So if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, your blood pressure is increasing, maybe your hands are, you're starting to feel sweaty or starting to feel hot, and you can feel your heart rate accelerating, this is a really good way to calm yourself down. And so you inhale for about a count of 4 seconds, hold that breath for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold that space for 4 seconds. You want to repeat this a minimum 4 to 5 times. If you just do it twice, you're not really getting the effect. But this is a really powerful tool to have in your toolbox. I do this with my kids if they wake up with nightmares. Now, both of them are pretty good that they know if they start feeling overwhelmed that this is something that they're going to go into naturally on their own. Resources, of course, 911 if you cannot keep yourself safe. Our website, like I said, we've worked to bring all the different resources that we can to one place. What is there provincially is quite different. There's unlimited free counseling through AgSafe BC right now in BC. Alberta has just launched AgNo. So I think they have 2 free counseling sessions. And, across Canada, it varies. So coming to our website can be a great place to connect with what is there for your actual location. Speaking to a local counselor, we also have more localized services that pop up on the map on our website. Anyone that shows up on that map, we know that they have an understanding or a connection to agriculture, or they've completed our ag culture training, which is agriculture literacy for mental health professionals. We want to make sure that they have at least basic knowledge, so they're not going to tell you to take a week off when you're burnt out, because they understand that that is not a possibility. Speaking to your doctor can be, the way you get into the traditional system. I haven't been to a province in the last year that is not experiencing pretty heavy backlog with provincial healthcare. So that may not be your fastest route. Again, Ag Talk might be speaking to someone is better than speaking to no one. And then Ag Talk, you can go to our website, which is domore.ag, and connect with Ag Talk at domore.ag/Ag Talk. QR code works. This, like I said, it's free. It's available to anyone 16 years and older. It's available in English and French. It's fully anonymous, and you get to connect with your peers. But again, with that stigma piece, we've removed the barrier of you having to worry that someone's going to know that it's you there. And you can also connect right away to mental health professionals. What we know through, we don't get to see obviously who's on there, but we do see some of the sign-up statistics. And we do know that the bulk of people that are utilizing Ag Talk feel like they have no other mental health support systems out there and are not seeking any type of traditional mental health support. The other thing I wanted to touch on quick is just that importance of, and I'll say self-maintenance over self-care, but self-maintenance. And, we wouldn't dream of just pulling the combine straight out of the Quonset and throwing it in the field when the barley's ready. We're going to get it out weeks in advance. We're going to change fluids. We're going to check belts, bearings, maybe replace knives, do whatever we need to do to make sure that that equipment's in the best shape it can be before we go into that season. We need to start thinking of ourselves the same way. So before you go into those busy seasons on farm or with a farm business, what can you do to make sure that you're, recharged, taken care of, in the best shape that you could possibly be? We don't send Olympic athletes to the Olympics without training. So what can we do to take care of ourselves? Maybe make sure we've got more rest than we normally do. But also, what can we do, on that day-to-day or during the week to make sure that we're finding ways to continue to recharge our batteries? And then again, not just dropping that in the busy seasons, but maybe finding ways to alter that. So like that could be that walking up and down the field when the tractor's warming up versus getting a full, long walk in the evening with a friend or spouse, or doing that workout. So finding ways to recharge and take care of ourselves when we have time, but also altering those ways so that we're not just having complete self-neglect during the busiest times that we deal with. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I welcome any conversations, thoughts, comments that anyone has out there. Like I said, feel free to drop them in the chat. You can send them directly to me if you want to keep your name out of it.
Megz, there was a comment here. Could you please talk about the effect a lack of vitamin D can have on depression and mental health?
Yes, so we know through science that vitamin D is very important for our bodies. One of the ways we naturally get vitamin D is sunlight. We in Canada live fairly north, and so in the winter our sunlight is rather limited for what our body would like to naturally receive. So one of the ways that we can support ourselves in that is by taking vitamin D. Vitamin D also helps in the breakdown of calcium so that our bones can utilize it properly. But one of the really great things that you can also get is the sunlight. I have one on my desk and I use it instead of having a light for video and stuff. But even if I'm sitting there not on a call, I have the sunlight shining on me. I've noticed that helps. And having that proper amount of vitamin D, even if you're not someone that experiences seasonal affective disorder or SAD, can really help just regulate your natural melatonin levels and help you have better sleep patterns.
Perfect. Thank you, Megz. If there's no other questions or comments, I can kind of go to the next thing, but as I'm sharing my screen, if you have anything to, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And I think I'll continue on here. I can't see the chat anymore, but hopefully there's no other questions. But I just want to say thank you, Megz, for the great presentation on burnout. It's something that we can all learn from and take some notes for the upcoming season. There's a lot of good nuggets in there. I was thinking, thinking back on myself, but then also my family, they farm, they have cattle and grains. They're going into calving season and seeding, so it's going to be busy. I know we're all going into busy season for our retails and customers and just everything, right? So really good nuggets in there. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today, Megz. We really appreciate you sharing your presentation on burnout. And with that, I do want to say thank you all for joining us today. Now, trying to get excited for the Journey 5K to touch on some of those things, walking, running, those kinds of things that you can help with burnout. I know we're getting close to time here, but I did want to note, remember to register, download the app, and get moving. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to anybody at Winfield. I realized at the beginning of this call, I forgot to say, my name is Taryn Milton. I'm a marketing specialist with Winfield United Canada. So myself and anybody else that you know from Winfield, we can all help you if you have any questions about the Journey 5K. And since we're at time here, I will note if you got to jump off, that's totally fine. But Teresa is going to walk us through how to download the app and kind of get started there. There's a quick video here that will get you kind of on the right track if you'd like to do so. So if you want to stay on, feel free to do so. If not, I hope you all sign up and register and yeah, have a good rest of your day. So Teresa, I'll get the video rolling on my end if you have anything else to mention.
Perfect. So for anyone who's able to join us and would like to see a little sneak peek at the app, this tutorial will walk you through the features and give you a tiny overview of how the events will work. This tutorial is also available on our event webpage. So if you watch it and then you think once you've downloaded the app, you're like, how does this work again? Just go back to the event page and you'll be able to find it. So you go ahead and let her play, Taryn.
Hey Journeyers! Welcome to the event app Pacer. This screen is your personal dashboard, providing you a snapshot of your daily activities. You'll know you're on the dashboard when the shoe inside the circle at the bottom of the page is highlighted blue. Looking at a couple of the key features on your dashboard, in the top right corner, you'll see your selected profile picture. If you tap it, that will take you to your profile information. One of the important things to note here is that your step data source is set to the default setting of phone. If you tap it, you will be able to connect a variety of different activity tracking devices and change your primary steps data source once a device is connected. Let's go back to our dashboard. Right in the center is your daily step count. Your default goal for each day is to get to 10,000 steps. And you can create step streaks by reaching your step goal multiple days in a row. You can see your step streaks by tapping the flame icon in the top right corner. Below this are the challenges that you are taking part in. You are automatically added to the Journey 5K warm-up and the Journey 5K event challenges. I have 2 demos set up that we'll walk through today. Below this are some other little treasures that are included with the premium Pacer subscription, including guided workouts and walking programs. If you tap into them, you will be able to take part in guided workouts and specific programs to reach goals that are most important to you. Popping back to the dashboard, let's look at the GPS tab. This is a manual activity tracker. Let's say you would like to take a walk over lunch or a bike ride after work. You would select the activity that you're completing from the list at the top. Then, when you're ready to start, you'll hit the blue start button. This will log your activity and add it to any applicable challenges. Click that start button. It's going to give you a countdown.
Activity started.
And then you'll start your activity. Along the way, you'll see that your calories and your steps are being tracked along with your distance. It's going to give you some audio cues as you travel, just to let you know how far you've gone or how much time has elapsed. Once you've completed your activity, you're going to hit the pause button.
Activity paused.
Then the finish. It's going to show you a little bit about your route, how much you accomplished in the time, and just confirm the activity type and description. I'll save that activity.
Completed.
That'll take us back to our dashboard. To see our journey event page, tap the gray maple leaf in the bottom left corner. This will provide you an overview of the event. Scrolling down, you'll see our event feed. We invite you to use the feed to post photos and notes about your own journey experience. To post to the feed, tap the green circle with the camera in the bottom right corner. You can create your post and add your photos and then tap post. Going back to the event page, you can also see a list of challenges. The Journey 5K warm-up is new for 2024. As a group, we are working together to reach 5,000 kilometers and unlock donations to the Do More Agriculture Foundation. When you tap into the warm-up challenge, at the top you'll see a summary of how close we are as a collective group to the 5,000 kilometer goal. Underneath that, you'll see your team's contributions and your individual contributions. If you keep scrolling, you'll see the specific details of the challenge, followed by posts specific to the challenge. To create your own post, tap the little green camera and create your post. Further down the page, you'll see the challenge leaderboard. The left tab is the individual leaderboard. Your current standings are always at the top in gray, with the full leaderboard underneath in white. The right tab is the team leaderboard, and again, your team appears first in gray, with the full leaderboard below. All of your daily activities are tracked and contribute automatically towards the warm-up total. But let's say you went for a walk but forgot your phone and weren't wearing your Fitbit. You can manually add activities to this challenge by tapping the green circle with the shoe and plus sign in the bottom right-hand corner. You're going to choose what activity you completed, let's say walking leisurely. Adjust the date and time as needed. Then select the duration of your activity. And looking underneath, you can see that the app automatically calculates the approximate steps and distance for that activity based on the hours that you entered. Hit add, and then it will autofill those fields. Hit save, and this activity will be added to the challenge. Now let's look at the Journey 5K challenge. The Journey Challenge will become active during the event dates, April 22nd to 28th. At the top of the page, you will see the details of the Journey 5K challenge, followed by the challenge feed. To post to the challenge feed, tap the little green camera and create your post. Farther down the page, you'll see the challenge leaderboard. The left tab is the individual leaderboard. Your current standings are always at the top in gray, with the full leaderboard underneath in white. The right tab is the team leaderboard, and again, your team appears first in gray, with the full leaderboard below. When you're ready to complete your run or walk with your friends or family, tap the green bar at the bottom that says Start GPS Activity. This will launch the race tracker.
Activity started.
It will show the distance you've completed, the time it's taken, the steps, and the calories burnt. Make sure you go a full 5 kilometers or the tracker won't register your time on the leaderboard. When you're out on your walk or run, if you need to stop and pet a cute dog or get an ice cream, hit the pause button. You can resume when you're ready. When you're finished your walk or run, hit the pause button and then the finish button. This will log your activity and automatically add it to the challenge leaderboard. There are a lot more hidden gems to be found in the event app, and we invite you to check them out. Stay social with your fellow journeyers, and most of all, get some steps in for your own mental health.
Want to know how to create awesome videos?
Gonna start playing some random stuff there. Sorry, everybody. All right, I think that's just about everything. I was just checking to see if there was any questions in the chat, but I think we're good to go here. So thank you all again for joining us. Teresa, is there anything else that you want to add, or I think everything was covered in the app there? So, okay, perfect. So thank you again for joining us, everyone. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.